Hi folks, and today I'm going to be looking at Sakkusu Tenor Saxophones. Now, the Sakkusu branding is Sax.co's branding for our own student instruments, and I'm proud to declare that we've had this branding going for a number of years now, and we've really landed upon something that's very successful for us, ticks all the boxes in terms of the quality of design, in terms of the tone, the intonation and the feel of the instruments. We've got a really nice all-round package for all four instrument groups, so the sopranos, the altos, the tenors, the baritones, and as mentioned, I'm going to go into detail on the tenors in this particular video. Now, for me, it's personally been a sort of long-term project trying to source an R&D, a really good quality student instrument that has to come in at a certain cost, because after all, this is a budget instrument for complete beginners. So this might be people who've only got a few £100s to spend, but they just want to see what the whole experience of the saxophone is like. And at the same time, we don't want to be selling you something that's just a pile of rubbish. So in these instruments, these Sakkusu branded instruments, we really feel that we found just the perfect instrument to tick all those boxes. So I'm going to tell you about what I'm looking for in terms of a good quality student instrument. So the first key thing is good intonation and tone. This is essential on any instrument, but in the student sphere as well. You notice it straight away as soon as you put your mouthpiece on. If you've got a kind of scratchy, kind of sharp sounding tone, it's just immediately off-putting. So you've got to have immediately a nice tone the moment you just blow that first note on the instrument. And then the intonation is essential as well. You know, if you've got half a good technique and you just run up and down a scale on the instrument, you can soon spot where the faults are, where the larger intervals are, or how the octaves might not be sitting right, even once you've played around with the mouthpiece position. So for me, it's essential to find an instrument that has that. And some of those areas of intonation that I look out for in particular are around the break area, where you might play a C or a C sharp and then you move to the D or the E just above the break, and often those intervals can be wide. That's an obvious sign of bad design in the instrument. And then the second area tends to be the extreme low notes can be quite flat, and the extreme high notes, or even the sort of middle high notes, can be quite sharp. So you notice those octaves are just very wide as you run up the octaves on the series of the instrument. So I found that with these Sakkusu tenors that I'm playing today, the basic one and the deluxe one, all these areas are checked with the tone and the intonation. They're really great from that point of view. So that's the first key thing, tone and intonation. After that, we've got the key layout. It's really important to have a comfortable key layout, something that just feels natural when you pick up the instrument. Your fingers should just land on the keys. You shouldn't have to stretch and move around, and you shouldn't have to sort of manipulate your fingers and hands into an uncomfortable position that just makes the whole process unenjoyable and makes technical passages really difficult. It should feel very natural. And so again, with these Sakkusus, I feel that the factories that we've been working with have really come up with a really nice key arrangement. So that's the second thing. And then finally, and very importantly, we've got a decent build quality as being an essential component here. So by that I mean the quality of the raw materials, of all the little technical bits and pieces, like pivot screws, rods, and all this kind of thing. They all come together and form the complicated bit on the outside, basically called the mechanism. On a really poorly set up or engineered instrument, you might find that there's a lot of play, a lot of movement in all those little parts, and that results in a very poorly operating instrument that just feels uncomfortable to play and can be quite costly in terms of the repairs and the sort of the constant setups needed through the years. Whereas if it has something that feels quite tight and rigid under the fingers and is well manufactured, then you can just relax, forget about it, it's not an issue, and then the playing aspect feels great because it translates nicely into the fingers. So that is the build quality, so that's absolutely essential. So all three aspects with these basically budget instruments come up on a really high mark as far as I'm concerned. Now, there's two levels of Sakkusu that we offer in the tenor sax and in the alto as well. And that is the basic models and then the deluxe models. So firstly, with the basic models, they come in 3 different finishes. We've got a standard gold finish. It's behind me here, off to my right. And then we've got two other slightly more interesting finishes, which is to say a vintage finish and a midnight black finish. The only thing that's different about these different finishes is the finish. The mechanism is all the same, but it just gives you a few different options, a few different looks. We've got a lovely shine and gleam to them here, so they're very popular amongst our customers. When you move on to the deluxe level instrument, it's just a slightly higher spec. There's a little bit more refinement in the mechanism. But as mentioned before, in terms of the playability, the tone and intonation, the general build quality, these are excellent instruments, and for the price, I think they're a bargain personally. I'd also like to point out that we sell this saxophone as a complete package, which includes a Yamaha 4C mouthpiece. That's one of the most reputed beginner's mouthpieces out there, and a really nice level backpack case, very comfortable. It's got lots of storage room, feels very comfortable in the back. And the final thing I'd like to mention about this instrument is we've been selling it for a number of years now, and the customer feedback has really been very strong with this. We've got a lot of people, complete beginners, starting out. They have no clue about the saxophone. They buy this instrument and they come back to us a few years later saying how delighted they are with their Sakkusus. So considering it's a budget instrument, you can run the risk of people coming back with issues and saying things aren't working properly and all the rest of it. And the number of instruments that we rent out, because by the way, this is an instrument that we have a hire scheme set up for, and the number of these that we buy and the rate of sort of satisfaction in relation to that is really good. So hopefully this will give you confidence in coming forward and giving it a go. Thank you.